ready.
Welcome back to another episode of Buff in the Rough. We're going to pick up today with part 2 of our interview with Mitch Gould of Heat Up Kennels. And the focus is going to be on the legacy of Heat Up Kennels and the origin story of Heat Up Kennels, but really picking up with a wonderful quote that he left us with at the end of part 1, which went something like this. At that point, the world hunt just really didn't matter to me. And so we're going to pick up there and see what happened at that world hunt.
And so yeah, the world hunt, and again, she was there with me. Tim and Derek had the camper up there, so we just stayed with them all weekend, and just she got to have a blast with the Neff families. Little kid, they have little kids, and man, they just played. And it was just a great weekend. I mean, whether we won the hunt or not, it was just a great weekend. So getting Tika ready for that hunt, she's I think that's one of the questions you asked me.
It is.
She's a very hard-hitting female. Probably the strongest track dog I've ever seen in my life for a female.
Wow.
Extremely explosive. When she's right, and it's especially if the conditions are good for big running. And you hear this term a lot, but she can truly drag a pack of dogs. She's a little bit high maintenance, getting her ready for a hunt. So, leading up to that, a lot of solo time, pretty much from her whole life. She bringing her along the right way. I don't pressure puppy. Don't throw pups in with 4 and 5 other mature dogs and just let them bang on them. That's just not what I do. So, anyways, getting her ready for World Hunt, I felt like she was close. Over at some of my lease ground here, I run a lot. We had so many baby rabbits. I mean, I couldn't believe that late in the year. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy how many babies I was seeing. And I was going out, and she was jumping 7, 8, 9 rabbits of an evening, but every one of them was small. And, I told, I might have been Cody or Braden, I'm like, man, I don't know if she's ready or not, man. I've been able to hardly get any running, it was just one of those type of years. And looking back on it, I think that kind of worked in her advantage, because running those little rabbits really makes a dog work. It's not very enjoyable to listen to or watch.
That's a fact.
But, so that was kind of the frustrating part leading up to it, just trying to get her ready. She'd had a good spring and kind of jumped onto the scene, and I was hoping she would make a good showing at the World. So we went out first round to one of Justin Schaefer's spots, not too far from Waynesburg, and right off the bat, she jumps a half-grown rabbit, and we 3-line that rabbit, and she gets all 3 first lines, and I think she got 2 of them by herself.
Wow!
And that was like the first 8 minutes of the hunt, and I looked at Aubrey, and she kind of looked at me like, "Whoa." And I thought, and immediately in my mind, I thought, man, maybe this actually worked out pretty good, that we had so many little rabbits on the lease down here. And so that was a good hunt, had a good cast, had a good judge. Went on to the next round, another good cast. I believe, trying to remember, Jeff Gullett was in that second round. Very nice man from Ohio. Had a very nice female, and him and Tika had a good battle that morning. I think Tika had first on the lines, all the lines we scored. I think that would end up being the difference. Very close on jumps and checks, and yeah, I enjoyed that. That was one of the dogs. You asked me what dog stuck in my mind. That was a good dog. Um, then moving on to the semis, that was kind of a weird cast. Very windy. Um, Went out to one of Barry Ritchie. Barry Ritchie was our guide. Them guys got some fantastic spots. Anybody that's never been to Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, it's just awesome running.
It's
it
fantastic.
Really is. And they got so much good ground.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go to a club. Club will have a few good spots. They've got like 20 good spots. You know? But that cast, the semis, there was definitely some good dogs in that cast. There was a spinner, a female named Spinner in there. A nice little dog. The Jasper dog from New York was in that cast. I got to know the New York fellows in that cast a little bit. Nice, very nice guys. Had a good time hunting with them. But in that cast, we ended up running a rabbit for it was like 30 minutes.
Wow.
And never could see the thing.
Mm.
And I could hear Tika in there doing her thing, and she scored a couple of checks. She got a couple of checks, but I was sitting last strike on that rabbit.
Ooh.
And so we're about out of time, and I just kind of thought, well, you did good, maybe you're in the top 10. I was happy with her. I mean, what she had done. That rabbit they ran, I mean, you could hear her doing her thing, and I was satisfied. I told Aubrey, I said, I think maybe our luck's running out, girl. I said we might be going home tonight and seeing Mama. And she didn't care. She was already happy. She wanted to win, but she was already happy from that show. And,
sure.
And so Trevor McQueen and Kristen Bunny were the judges, and they asked the guides, where do you want us to go? And we needed another rabbit. So they said, yeah, let's get back. Let's call time out, get in the truck. There's a section we haven't hit over here. And there's only maybe, 10, 15 minutes left, not much. And we pull in there, park the truck, and we start walking down this mowed path. And we're walking, and it seemed like we walked a good ways. And I thought, man, them guys must know exactly where they're going. Because, man, they knew exactly where they were walking. Like, they knew where there was going to be some rabbits. And they said, yeah, we'll go down over this bank, and we'll cut loose to the right. Well, Tika will stand up on her hind legs and wind a lot when she jumps rabbits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in the lead trap, I saw her kind of throw her head back, and she started winding, kind of hopping, laying back on her back legs a little bit. And I thought, man, there's a rabbit here somewhere, And so we turned loose, and all the dogs were pretty happy right in front of us. And she just kind of peeled down over, and she jumped one, really driving it. And it come around, made a quick circle, come right back at us, called the line. She got first line, and that got her into the finals.
Wow.
She got first strike, first line, maybe another first line. I can't remember if we scored 2 on that or not. But so leading up to that, it was kind of a meant to be thing. I felt confident, if we could get another rabbit, maybe she would pull it out. But when you don't have a lot of scoring, it's tough, and I guess any format, the more running you have, the more scoring you have, the less, chances taken out of it.
Right.
So that put her into the finals, and then the next morning, we couldn't believe it. There was an inch of frost on, and it was shocking, honestly, because it had been very nice weather. And, it's better than being super hot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But so we went to the finals. Randy Workman just has some like rabbit hunter's dream spots. That's the way I can describe it. Mowed paths, big run, lots of ground. Just beautiful. Other than it's super steep. So if you're afraid of hills, it might scare you. But So they struggled a little bit early there. Tika's the kind of dog that she barks off the jump. She will not cold trail. And, right off the bat, we all ended up taking 50 minus on a jumped rabbit. They couldn't do much with it. And I thought, boy, it's going to be a rough day. Going to be one of them weird casts,
Mm-hmm.
And we moved out around the hill, and the dog's opening that frost, and clock's running. Eric Yant was the head judge, and clock was running on these dogs, and he called time. 3 minutes got him, and right as he was saying handle dogs, Tika jumped a rabbit looking at it, just right up maybe 40 yards above us. Jumped it. And I, in that cast was Alan Newby, Dave Hummel, and Blake Barkman. And Blake's a real good kid. I was happy for him. I was happy for all those guys, but that's a good kid right there. Puts a lot of time in his dog. And that was the Heat 'em Up Foxy Roxy dog that got second.
Mm-hmm.
She's out of Hellstorm. That was special for me too. That she was in there, and so anyways, I just kind of jokingly said to those guys, do you guys want to split the strike? And I didn't figure they would want to. And when I'm running keto, I'll split all day long. And so everybody's like, yeah, why not? Newbie and Hummel like, yeah, we don't care. None of it really what it amounted to, Sam. None of us wanted to walk up there and catch our dog. It was steep. That's what it amounted to. And just to touch on that, it was such a good laid back environment, for a Final Four. I mean, just the four of us just had a good time. It was a good representation of the sport. It really was. But Blake, he's like, I don't know, man. I said, well, you don't have to. It's not. It has to be unanimous. And he's like, yeah, go ahead, we'll split. And so they split in with her, and it made a big loop and headed back. And I heard Eric call line up there, and Tika ended up getting the line by herself. I think she got a check on that rabbit, maybe. So now we're looking pretty good. Those dogs at 8 minus. She got a line by herself. She's up 200 and some at that point, I believe.
Wow.
And now the only thing I'm waiting on is that clock to run out, which there was still a lot of time left. So the rest of that cast was, I think Roxy jumped a rabbit, had a nice jump, had a check. I believe Hummel's dog got a check. And they ran a rabbit for probably, it left the mowed paths, went down into kind of a wooded area.
Mm-hmm.
And we just could not get, the judges kept seeing the dogs, but they just could not get score. So that's the end of the story there.
Mm-hmm.
So she, that's kind of that line by herself, and kind of what did it for her,
Oh, yeah. So what does it feel like? I mean, because the vast majority of people that listen to this are not going to be able to say they have a world champion in their backyard. I mean, heck, if you go back to the dogs that are living today that won world championships, I mean, there might be 10, 12 of them alive today. I mean, what's it like to go home and know that you've got a world champion out back? And what do you do once you achieve a world championship? Do you try to get a second? What's Tika's life like now? Does she know she won the world? And what are you going to do with her now? I mean, what else is there to prove?
Well, we're laughing, but I always have thought to myself, these dogs, the old saying, about a dog carrying a man's ego is so true. These dogs are just out hunting, man.
Oh, yeah.
At a big hunt, if they get to run multiple rounds, they just think, oh, cool, Dad wants to run all day. They don't. Tika lives a pretty blessed life, I can tell you that. My daughter babies her. So anyways, to win the world hunt, the first world hunt was in 2000. And I had ran a dog most of that year for Dale, leading up to that in 99. Her name was Ricky, would have been Jake's littermate sister. And I loved that dog, and soloed the heck out of her. And really had her dialed in for that first world hunt. And to be honest with you, I kind of flaked out and talked Dale's son into handling her because I was nervous. And make a long story short, she got second or third maybe, and Jason Vandergriff with another sister to her, I believe, got second.
Wow.
And we got so close on that first one,
Mm-hmm.
And Dale, he wanted a world title as well. And I guess just to touch on the fact that the world hunt, and I'm not trying to take away from it anyway, it's another hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard one to win. It's another hunt. The time of year we have the world hunt, I think sometimes is not advantageous.
Mm-hmm.
That early October period, some years is like a transitional time between summer and fall running, and it can really suck. It can be dry. You can have little rabbits.
That's right.
So some years it's not an advantageous weekend. And some of the houndsmen that I grew up looking up to and never won the world hunt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of the greatest dogs, if I were to try to give you my top 10 bagels I've ever seen run a rabbit, the majority of those never won the world hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So, from that perspective, there's been, 2000 was the first one, what's that make, 20, 22, 23 world hunts we've had.
That's right.
But it's something you strive to win because it is the world hunt.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
It does.
So, from that point on, I thought, we'll get this one here eventually. And over the years, I just can't even tell you the heartbreak of that event. Back in the day, this might be something you didn't know, Sam. You didn't get to go on without plus points at the world hunt.
That's right.
So Jake actually placed, I want to say 4th, 6th, and 7th at the world hunt. In 2 of those 3 years, he eliminated a non-plus point cast. I can remember Keita, Heat 'em Up Keita, and Shenango Star. Them two finally drew each other. The year Keita won Hound of the Year, they just would miss each other every big hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally draw out together. And them two, we must have had 17, 20, I don't know. It seemed like a convoy following us to go watch this cast. These two dogs go at it. And we jumped 2 rabbits. Keita jumped 1 deep. Star jumped 1 deep. And they were just put on a performance on how dogs are to hunt. I mean, they were in the brush, opposite directions. It was impressive. But there was no rabbits in this spot.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was just, I shouldn't say that. It could have just been a bad day. You know how it goes.
Sure.
So make a long story short, neither one of them dogs get to go on.
Right.
One of the all-time greats, Eric and Donnie Yen, had a dog named Sing It Girl. He's in my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic dog. She was Jake's nemesis back in the day when we were both running for Hound of the Year. She got eliminated that year with Jake, non-plus point cast. So over the years, it got to be kind of a thing where, we was able to get the national title, was able to win some of the other big hunts, but just couldn't win that one. Top 10, I don't know how many different places.
Mm-hmm.
Then 2018, Keita pup named Heat 'em Up Hellstorm that Josh and Cody had. I thought, well, maybe this is the year a Keita pup finally gets it done. She ended up second. So I guess the point I'm making is it's hard to win that hunt, but it is just another hunt, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. So what are or do you have plans for Tika? I mean, are you going to breed her? I would assume yes is the answer. But do you continue to hunt her? How does that work?
Oh yeah, she's got pups out there in the kennel right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not right now because she had 10, and there's 2 still out in my kennel. They're 8 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I bred her as soon as the world hunt was over.
Mm-hmm.
I plan to say, hey, as soon as she comes in or next cycle, I'm going to go ahead and get a litter of pups out of her. And that was a hard decision because she's in the prime of her life.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you breed females, it can take a little off of them.
Sure.
But I just, some of my friends were, man, don't breed her, let her have another whack at the big hunts. And some of them like, I breed her. But really what it come down to me, Sam, was because the big problem was, and this is the kind of ironic, I wanted to give her a crack at the Clash of Champions.
Yes.
And I knew if I bred her, she was going to miss that hunt.
Yes.
She finished in the top 8 of the NHBA sectional Hound of the Year race, which meant she would have gotten a bye at the region. And that was what was weighing on me, like, man, she's going to miss the Clash. Breed her. And here's what it come down to. And this, again, this personal preference, everybody got to make their own decisions. But I figured I could live with her missing out on the Clash. I couldn't live with something happening to her and me not getting pups out of her.
I hear you. That makes total sense to me. So what'd you breed her to?
What made the decision to breed her.
What's the sire of the pups?
We bred her to our rep dog, Eat 'em Up Rowdy Reputation, dog that won the McVeigh Memorial last year.
He's a good looking hound too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's Cody Rucker, Josh Ware, Randy Moore been running him some, and yeah, I love Rep. He's a hard hunting dog, big nose. Will reach out and touch somebody. I mean, he's a powerful hound. So that was kind of I pretty much kind of decided on that for her first litter. Her next litter, I'm going to breed her to. Probably going to breed her to Derek Bowen's Eat 'em Up Spot Dog. That's out of Eat 'em Up Princess and Big Meadows Black Eagle. But so I kind of had that mapped out in my head, And then, of course, I hated for Tika to miss the Clash. And this is funny. My wife will get a kick out of this, but she kept telling me, "It ain't no big deal. T's going to win the Clash." I said, whatever. And, I just kind of, she said, no, I'm serious. I think T's going to win the Clash. And
yep.
T really started to click. She was 2.5 at the time, starting to mature, and she just had a phenomenal winter. And I was bragging on her. And Brittany, my wife, kept telling me, "Yeah, I'm telling you, you don't worry about missing out on Tika. T is going to win that Clash." Wow. Yeah, right. You're right. But so yeah, she likes to remind me that she was right about that.
Well, I'm so happy that you were able to get pups out of her. How many times have we had friends or run into people that had a special hound and they just kept putting it off, and then it was too late. Something happened and they weren't able to get a puppy out of them.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm happy.
Yeah, there's so many tragedies out there that we've all heard or maybe experienced, and we actually lost a female year before last. Unexpectedly, that it was really a tough one to swallow. So that's always in the back of your mind. My dad told me when I was little, we would go coon hunting, and the one dog we had, she was really my baby. And I was like 8 or 9, and he would say, I was attached to her, and he would tell me, boy, he said, when we turn that dog loose, you got to know that could be the last time we see that dog. I mean, it's part of it.
That's it.
We're going to do everything we can do to keep her safe and healthy. But, so that's something you always got in the back of your mind,
Oh, yeah.
So I just and I've always, to be honest with you, as time has went on, maybe not in my earlier years, but as time has went on, I've been more leaning towards, I just love raising pups and starting pups and that breeding aspect of it, I've always tried to, that part of the deal has always I'm very, very passionate about that. Don't get me wrong, I like going to field trials.
Sure.
But, I I have a saying, and I tell a lot of young guys this getting into the sport, be a houndsman first.
Mm-hmm.
Be a houndsman first. Don't let the competition thing, ruin what it's really all about.
Well,
that's you and your dog and time in the woods and that experience,
Well, Mitch, I'm glad you're bringing this topic up, and I know we've got to wind down, but one of the things that I've noticed that you've been a part of is every time I see a big prize package or some hunt that's focused on kids or youth, there's always a youth element. It seems like in a lot of these larger hunts, and NHBA does a fantastic job, recognizing
Absolutely.
the youth. I think they're about as strong an organization as we have. But your name comes up a lot. I see you behind the scenes, working the phones and whatever it takes to get donations in to support the youth. So number one, appreciate that. It's just being a houndsman and recognizing how important it is to work with the kids to make sure there's somebody here, to take this on when we're not here. But I did want to ask you for maybe some advice, for the youngsters out there listening that are just getting started in this business. What are some of the pieces of advice other than what you just mentioned?
Well, yeah, I do want to just say that the youth programs we have, I'm very proud of what NHBA has done. I mean, I think since Alan Newby, president of NHBA,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy really cares about kids, and they've made such a point to promote the youth, and it's paying off. We're seeing more kids now than I ever remember seeing. Okay, and my club hosts the Eliminator East, so we've tried to follow suit and have stuff like that as well. I do want to just kind of maybe a little plug here, if you don't care. We started something new this summer called the Youth Houndsman Challenge,
mm-hmm.
and I've got youth from, I want to say, 5 states signed up. And what that is if you remember maybe when you were a kid, I know when I was a kid, if you read so many books in the summer, your mom would sign off you read them and you would turn that in.
Yep, I sure do.
Summer reading programs. It was an honor system, but my mom wasn't going to lie for nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought to myself, we're doing a lot for these kids at the events with prize packages and different things. But when I examined my own life as a houndsman, Monday through Friday, that's where I became a houndsman. And we got some kids that they run these dogs. I mean, and that's to me something I wanted to acknowledge. So the Youth Houndsman Challenge is basically this. From June 10th to February 15th, every time a kid goes and runs dogs, could be a field trial, could be, just pleasure running, whatever. But every time they go run a dog for at least an hour during a one-day period, they get credit for that day.
Mm-hmm.
And between now and East Eliminator, and the West Eliminator is also going to participate, I'm happy to say. Every kid that completes 100 days of running their dog, which is basically averages out to being like running your dog every 3 days,
mm-hmm.
Is going to have, quote unquote, completed the Youth Houndsman Challenge. And that's going to come with, we're going to acknowledge those kids and celebrate that success at the East Eliminator and the West Eliminator, whichever eliminator the kids want to attend. And those kids that complete the Youth Houndsman Challenge, they will get extra credit towards the youth prize package of the event, if that makes sense.
I love it.
So like at the East Eliminator, we have a point system. You get a point for every dog you show, a point for every dog you hunt. Every time you win, you get a point. And then the kids with the most points, they pick their prize. Last year we had trophy deer hunts, trophy fishing trips.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We had all kinds of stuff for those kids to choose from. So this is going to be a big deal. I'm excited to see how it turns out because these kids that complete that challenge are going to have an advantage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The kid with the most days running, we get even another point. So we had a lot of ties last year in that hunt with the youth. So I think it's going to be exciting. And anybody interested in getting into that, just holler at me and I'll get you the form. Email you the form and get that kid signed up for the Youth Houndsman Challenge.
Well, thank you again for putting that together, but organizing it, and we'll do our best to promote it too. So as we wrap up, what's something about you that you'd like to share that maybe nobody else knows? What's a good Mitch Gould fact?
A good fact.
Yeah, something that people don't know. I mean, people know your success as a houndsman. Your passion for working with the youth and in the sport, but maybe something that doesn't even have to do with hounds.
Well, I'm an absolute diehard fisherman.
Okay.
I'm a giant fish junkie. Giant sharks on the coast, big salmon in Michigan,
mm-hmm.
Chasing big giant blue cat in Virginia. Other than dogs, I mean, I get pretty jacked up to chase big fish. So, we have we camp a lot, trout fish a lot here in the mountains of West Virginia. If I'm not, if there's one thing I'll miss a dog hunt for, would be fishing.
Well, I've always wanted to ask somebody this question.
Sure.
That catches shark. What do you do with them when you catch them?
Well, I mean, the smaller sharks are really good eating, but we're targeting trophy size sharks. Last week, or 2 weeks, last week, we got an 8-foot tiger shark to the beach and got her loose and back in the water. We take great care of those really big sharks and turn them back. So
I can't imagine what it's like to catch an 8-foot shark.
Oh man, it's hard to it's an adrenaline rush. I mean, when you're sitting there and that drag starts to just peel, it's an adrenaline bump for sure. It's the challenge of getting that fish to the beach and they tag a lot of sharks. Try to have that conservation mindset
sure.
with the big sharks.
So you were fishing out on the surf, not out of a boat or a pier. Okay.
Yeah, it's called land-based shark fishing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually going back in August to the big hammerheads. We'll be cruising topsail that time of year. We're going to try to. Haven't got a really big hammerhead, so I'm kind of going back for that. Too hot to run dogs in, anyways.
Oh yeah. And I'm gonna put something else in here too, Mitch. You mentioned that there were a lot of the dogs that you'd hunted with in your life that hadn't won a world championship. They were top hounds. Yeah, you've hunted with a lot of hounds in 20, 30 years. What are 2 or 3 of those top hounds?
Oh man, I hate to leave anybody out.
I know you do.
I mean, right off the bat, Eric and Donnie Yant, 2 people I respect a lot as houndsmen. They had a dog named Sing It Girl, and What a Beauty. I love those 2 females. Never won a world. Close. Jerry Scott had a dog called Windstorm that was from back in the day. That was an absolute powerhouse. Never won a world.
Mm-hmm.
Roy Schwafford had a dog called Ace that came really, really close. Second. Made it in finals another time, I believe. Dan Mazalek had a dog called Bo of Touchstone that was a full brother to Jake. Won nationals once, maybe twice, now that I think of it. Never won a world. There's just there's a bunch coming to mind. I hate to leave anybody out, but I think it's just sometimes I think we measure dogs a certain way, and that in of itself, it is another hunt.
That's right.
There's only one world champion a year.
That's right.
And those big hunts, you need the right dog. I mean, don't get me wrong. You need to have the talent. But there's so many other factors. Anybody that tells you, you don't need some breaks, I mean, they're, in my case with Tika, what if those guys don't feel like getting in their truck?
Yep.
We don't run another rabbit.
That's right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen. And I've told a really good guy from down south, actually, getting into the sport, asked me the other day, what's it take to win a big hunt? And, I told him, I said, well, number one, you do need the talent. You do need the dog talent. But that dog's got to be healthy. Mm-hmm. That dog's got to have the right nutrition. That dog's got to be ran the right way, and you got to figure out what that is. And then when you get to the hunt, not only do you need some breaks, but you can screw up, the handler. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of factors there to make that happen. So that's
well, Mitch, I didn't mean to
definitely against you.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I know we got to wrap this up. But I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to talk about the history of Up Kennels and talk about some of the hounds you've had over the years and your experiences and sharing the story of Tika and your experiences winning the world championship. And I really appreciate what you're doing to help promote anything to do with getting these kids active in the sport. I really appreciate what you're doing there. But again, appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, that concludes this episode of Buff in the Rough, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you want to hear more from Mitch Gould, he and one of his side hustles actually has a podcast where he talks all about the National Hunting Beagle Association, and you can find them on Podbean, and they have some really super topics as well. And a couple little housekeeping things that I wanted to share with you. First of all, thank you for the feedback. It's really appreciated, and I appreciate all the folks that sent in emails to buffintherough@gmail.com. And I told you I'd announce the winner of the $25 Academy Sports gift card, and that goes to Colin Hinkes, who's a Beagle Houndsman from Meadowview Farm up in Camp Creek, West Virginia. Thank you, Colin, and to the many others that submitted topics for future content. And join us next time when we'll talk about what we've heard a million times. I wish somebody would have told me that before I started hunting. That's the next topic for the next Buff in the Rough. We'll see you then. Thanks.